and Brenda Wells has an excused absence. So I think we can start the meeting, and the next order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. My little flag. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so
There's Bert.
okay. I wanted to get the minutes from our meeting of December 8th approved. They're here. I've read them. I don't see any problems with them. Everyone was at the meeting except for Burton. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Tyler? Jim, second? Okay. All right. The minutes are approved from the last meeting. And I would like to go right on to, go ahead.
We have to vote.
Oh, hi Bert. How are you? Okay. I'd like to go on to the education topic, which this month is child, teen, young adult, adolescent issues and challenges in San Clemente at this time. And we have organized a panel of participants. It's nothing formal. They don't have presentations. We can't see their faces, but we're going to try to have a conversation. And I'm going to have Susan Parmalee introduce everyone and how they fit into the city. So Susan, go right ahead.
Sure. Paula, is everybody on the email here?
I see Terry Steele, I see Blair, I see Lindsay, I see Erica, I see Joyce and you. I don't see Terry Hughes or his, okay. Might be calling in for him. I don't know.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I know this is someone raised their hand, so I don't know who's here, but I'm just gonna I have some general questions. And I'm just going to kind of lead through some thoughts I had about what I've seen going on, but I really want to hear it from others because I know I've presented to you before. So I think I'd like to start with Blair, and I'm going to have people introduce themselves as they answer a question. So Blair is now leading a coalition of transitional age youth. We consider transitional age youth to be, there's a couple definitions, anywhere from 13 to 25, but for the definition of Blair's coalition, I believe it is 18 to 25, and it's really cool. It's across the whole county because we really are recognizing this as a group that has very particular needs. And so Blair, knowing that the Human Affairs Committee kind of works on social service grants and how the city can better support social services in San Clemente. Can you introduce your title, Blair, and then tell us what you're seeing among kind of that 18 to 25-year-old population?
Definitely. Thank you, Susan. So everyone, my name is Blair Verdasa, and I'm representing the Connect OC Coalition. I brought with me today some anecdotal stories. We work with a team of interns who are within that demographic. All of them fall between 18 to 24. And really what they wanted me to share with you all today is just the fact that right now we've been dealing with COVID for such a long time. And there's kind of the feeling in the air that, we should be used to it by now. And they're not used to it by now. And if anything, there's been multiple waves of, I'm sure we've all felt it at the beginning. We think, hey, this might be over soon. And oh, wait, it's not over. Oh, wait, what's happening? Are we going to be able to go back in the fall to school? So just the uncertainty, which I think, of course, we're hearing about a lot. But what they really wanted me to communicate is just the fact that right now, the sense that they feel especially from adults, whether that be teachers or people who are interacting with them, is again, that sense that they should be over this or they should be used to this, but they're not. So they just really wanted me to communicate that to you today. And in addition, just the fact that things that I feel like it's really similar across kind of all age groups, but the things that they used to turn to cope with stress, to, deal with the stress of school, all those things have kind of been taken away from them. So, whether that's being able to get outside more often, whether that's escaping from the computer and doing other things. A lot of them, their leisure time is now being found on the computer as well. And that makes it hard, I think, for all of us who are providing social services as well, because our only options are to provide them in online formats currently right now. But those formats are draining to them when they've been on school all day, or they've been now having their leisure time with their friends online as well. So that's just kind of a catch-22, I think we find ourselves in right now, needing to provide services virtually, provide assistance virtually, but they're burnt out on virtual things. So even just, I think something that they communicated to me is coming up with more creative ways that, not just necessarily presentation-based services or, things that feel like another class that they're sitting through, but things that are getting them to open up and share with one another. Again, having adults that are empathetic to the situation they're seeing, and, just providing points of connection that don't feel like another Zoom session or a Zoom class, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm going to move to Erica Fairweather next, who is the,
Has Amanda.
Can I just ask a quick question?
yeah.
Blair, I just wanted to make sure that I understand. So really what you're saying is with the kid population you're working with, the feeling they're getting from adults is like they should just get over it.
Mm-hmm.
They should just get over it and get used to it, rather than no, what's going on is just crazy and messed up. And so they're not feeling support. They're feeling like adults are just telling them they should get over it. Is that what you're telling me?
Sort of, yeah. I think at the beginning they felt a lot of support from the adults in their lives, but I think they think that the adults have, what they're interpreting this as is the adults have felt they already addressed it, so they don't need to keep addressing it. But things are not changing, and they're still dealing with the same issues. So I think just more consistently reaffirming, hey, we're still in crazy times. We might have been in this now for a year, but it's still, these are unprecedented times. We still understand that online school is difficult. We still understand that, whatever it may be, but just that that expression of empathy is kind of something that they're looking for right now.
Yeah, and I think we can all maybe agree we're all having a bit of empathy fatigue in the helping industry as well, which so I can understand parents having it. Erica is the school counselor at San Clemente High School. What kind of difficulty, what are you seeing among students? Are there any kind of services they're having trouble accessing? Are you seeing food insecurity? Are you seeing rental problems? Are you seeing tech problems? What kind of things would you see some of the kids that are coming to you or struggling at the high school are having right now?
Hi. Yeah, so luckily, Kappa Unified School District is providing food services for free for all students all school year. So that's not just our low income families now, but all students have access to free breakfast and lunch. And tech issues have not necessarily like getting access to Chromebooks at the high school level anyway. Every student has access to a free computer. I would say in the tech realm, definitely hotspots. I know we've been providing hotspots, which are basically like Wi-Fi spots, for families that don't have Wi-Fi or they have poor internet. But, that when you're some of our families are doubled up, there's could be 8 people living in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. So if everyone, is trying to be on their Zoom calls, trying to be in class, I think that is the connectivity issue is definitely an issue, and that I don't think more than 3 hotspots, that's kind of where we're coming to a head as to how can we help support these families when it's kind of something that we can't, but, thankfully, we have been so lucky to be back since October. So I do think having access to school, being on campus with Wi-Fi has definitely helped there. As a counselor and meeting with, a lot of students who are struggling with, motivation and work completion, the numbers of D's and F's right now are crazy, the highest we've ever seen. But, some interventions that we're trying to reiterate to families and students. We have after school tutoring on campus in person. It's not over Zoom. And even if, the student isn't supposed to be on campus that day, if it's a Monday, Wednesday student, but they need to come on Tuesday and Thursday for tutoring, they can come after school and still have access to that. The lunch tables, they can still have access to sitting outside and, using their Chromebooks that we provide, just to, get the school's Wi-Fi, which is, thinking outside of the box, since unfortunately it's not like they can go to Starbucks or, go to a friend's house as easily now.
Erica, what percentage of kids did not come back that stayed completely online? What percentage of our high school?
Right now, currently, as of last week, I believe numbers are definitely rising to being 100% online. We're probably like 51, 52% online.
Okay.
Campus is a ghost town. We usually have 3,000 students here, and it's
So that
it's a
means
ghost town.
that means that we're at about 750 on any given day right now, right?
Yeah, about
Okay.
give or take.
Okay. I'm going to jump over and I'm going to come back to middle and elementary.
I had a question about the Wi-Fi, since this is what I'm in telecom. You said 3. The reason that they can't all get online, is it because that our infrastructure around here isn't enough for everyone in the city to be on at the same time? Or is it because they can't get enough air cards around to all the people? What is
We do have the air, so we do provide, our principals and assistant principals have been delivering hotspots or the air signals, I guess, to families. But I just think the amount of, I don't know if data is the right word, or the amount of usage available, for those hotspots, I don't think can suffice for multiple devices.
They can't get enough infrastructure to these homes. It's not the air cards. Okay, I just want to.
Right. I think they're limited on how many they can give to a household at this point. And what Erica kind of pointed out is some households might have like 8 kids trying to be online at the same time.
Right.
Typically, those are households where parents might be working out of the home. So it's not necessarily a parent at work issue, but they don't have their own internet connection in the house.
Right.
I'm going to jump over a little bit to the safety and well-being of our youth. Deputy Rogers is here to kind of talk about it. What kind of issues are you seeing? I mean, I know for me, one of the concerns is domestic violence and child abuse are way underreported right now. And we've also had a lot of safety and welfare checks. So Lindsay, is there anything really sticking out for you right now?
So hi everyone, I'm Deputy Rogers. If you don't know me, I'm the school resource officer here in San Clemente. I do represent our 10 schools that we have, and I would say my number one thing that I do every single day that I'm here, Tuesday through Friday, is multiple welfare checks. And that's really more than just for attendance purposes. There's usually something driving behind, whether it is the kids' own mental health or allegations of abuse or neglect. And never in my life, this is unprecedented, have I done this many welfare checks per month. Like I average at least 2 to 3 a day. And it's sad for me because while I enjoy going to these kids' houses and visiting them, it's usually, it's not good when I show up on their doorstep and, they're defeated. And most of the time, a lot of their parents aren't even home. So I'm having to track their parents down at work because a lot of them have more than one job. So the fact that these kids are sitting at home unsupervised with, no motivation or help or assistance is just really, really bringing them down. So I would say the number one thing is just their feeling of apathy. Like they don't even care. They don't even realize that, they're really harming their futures by not putting in the effort to stay engaged online, whether they want to or don't want to. So my number one challenge right now is just getting them back in the zone for that school mindset. Like a lot of these 13, 14, 15-year-olds have straight given up and just don't care about graduating or can't even foresee past, being 18 at this point. It's a big dark gray cloud right now. That's how I would describe it.
Right, so kind of go ahead, Paula.
How do you know to do a welfare check? Do you know where to go, or do you get a phone call? How does all that work?
So it can be through dispatch, it can be through CPS, it can be through a teacher or a counselor. I have a work phone, I have a work email, and I get these requests 24 hours a day. Like, hey, this kid hasn't checked in 60 days. Hey, this person has 77 unexcused absences. Just a variety. Even parents have called on their own kids. Like, hey, he's telling me one thing, but I'm seeing straight F's right now. Is there any way you can go do an intervention, basically?
Right. And so this kind of the apathy, yeah, we're seeing that a lot with the kids we work with. Uh, what, Lindsay, what else are you seeing? Are you seeing anyone worried about rent? Are you seeing anything like that? Or is it more just kind of the school refusal? And how much use, substance use are you seeing right now?
I would say it has remained about the same, and a little more increase in the alcohol, not necessarily the street drugs or vaping. I would say that's kind of come to a plateau, but definitely we've had a ridiculous amount of what we call beer runs on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, which, a lot of the times.
Can you say what that is? I know what that is, but I don't know if everyone else does.
A beer run, is shoplifting for, a 12 pack or a 6-pack. And it is at an all-time high right now. And it's always juveniles is the description given. So I know these kids are drinking. I'm catching them, after school. We hear about these parties, and it's just, I think, there is no repercussions really if the parents aren't home or they don't know about it. So that's definitely a side factor, I would say.
Great. Terry, can you briefly, oh, sorry, go ahead. Who had a question?
Is the fact that they have no after-school activities, no sports practices, no games, adding to the overall negative?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, Terry, could you really briefly tell me what some of the COA kids groups are telling you about and what you're seeing at your food distribution?
Yes, thank you for having me here. And I'm looking over at Burton, and we had a very vibrant program where we had activities for the kids before COVID on a regular basis. And these kids were coming for music, and then midweek we'd get them out on bikes. So when everything came to a screeching halt, we tried to get creative. The only thing we were really able to keep up was the cycling and fishing over the summer, and we'll kick that back up again. But what I'm hearing from the kids is they miss those activities. They miss the opportunity to get together with other teenagers. And they're telling me, yeah, there's parties on green belts, there's parties at the beach, there's parties all over town, a lot of house parties. And these many of them are being thrown by junior high kids, and they're doing the beer runs, but they're also just taking advantage of the houses with the alcohol. And
so Terry, how important are the social services grants going to be to restarting your programs?
It's huge. The one thing that we have going that I'm very excited about is we're going to continue with the music programs that we've all been doing for the kids online. The Instagram Live. They have the program that's coming up with Casa Romanica has been great, inviting the kids in. They're going to do the Well Festival in Dana Point. We need those kind of activities here in San Clemente too, because that way we could get people at a social distance. We did it over at the outlets. Well attended. We were able to have a resource table, get a lot of families over to Billy's, get them in contact with wellness and prevention if needed. But it's by bringing families together for activities such as music that we can then tell them about these different services that they may be able to take advantage of. So yeah, without these grants last year, just, to throw that out there, that was really hard for us because we lost corporate sponsors, we lost individual sponsors, we had to relocate. The Baha'i Center couldn't meet the guidelines for COVID safety. So we had
Terry, can be one more thing though. And I've got like 4 more people, so I'm sorry if I'm kind of keeping you brief. Okay. But is there anything in the permitting process that could be easier for outdoor events, or is that not a problem?
Well, I would say that we, for so many years, just didn't get accepted when we would apply, that we stopped going there and we would just go to the private facilities. But if there's anything that we can get from the city to make it easier to get activities allowed on site with facility use, then we don't have to pay for rent. That's a big deal because we have
Right.
contractors who will come in and offer the services for free. We just need facility use.
Right. And then, I mean, I know one of the things, one of our main partners is the Outlet Mall, and their special use permits are very limited, but it's such a great space to be able to hold events. So maybe that's another thing the committee looks at is there a way to change kind of that permitting process that the outlets have to go through? Because Susan Jenrek has commented that, you know, she can only hold so many events and she has to be very choosy. I wanted to jump over to Joyce Toledo. Joyce is the school counselor at Bernice Air Middle School. Joyce, is there anything we haven't really spoke on that you've seen among the middle school population right now? And you can kind of you can just say, no, that you said it all, but and reemphasize it, or what are some of the concerns you have right now?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I would say one thing that maybe just, specific to middle school that I've noticed that maybe hasn't been touched on is the lack of structure that a lot of students are having. I know Erica earlier had mentioned a lot of, the increase in D and F rates. And we're definitely seeing that here. And I think what's happening is a lot of our parents and students are finding themselves in a situation where their child or themselves is not performing at the level that they had been used to. And I think, at this age in middle school, it's different because they're kind of independent, but they're still, needing structure. And so a lot of parents are at a loss as to what to do because they're like, I don't know, my student who used to get all A's is now failing. And I think it's kind of just taking into account like the executive functioning skills of a student at this age, and understanding that they're still honing in on a lot of those skills and developing them, like organization and time management. And so where, yes, they were very successful when they had a structured day and sports after school and got homework done in between, that worked well for them. But then with all of that pulled under the rug from them, it's kind of been a 180. So it's kind of really tapping in and understanding, what our middle school students are capable of and understanding that executive functioning skills. And not that it's the students' fault and, they're not, it's not that they're incapable, but it's really understanding, what they developmentally can do at this age, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I love that, Joyce. And, for me, a lot of this is going to be how we come out and recover. And that's going to really be how we judge our community, is how we come back to really support and bolster everyone and accept the losses from this year, not just the physical people we lost, but the learning that our kids have lost, the career development that our young adults have lost. That's things I think we need to think from a social service standpoint. Thanks, Joyce. Hey, Terry, are you? Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
Real quick, just had a question for Joyce. Joyce, thanks so much for being here. I just had a question. Erica, I think, had mentioned that there's some kind of a tutoring program at the high school for students that want to participate. Is there any kind of after school or middle of the day program to supplement normal education that's happening at the middle school as well?
Yes, so we actually have an intervention called Swell, and that is offered every single day, Monday through Friday, whether the student is virtual, whether they're on campus, and then now because middle school students are logging in on their opposite days, so to speak, when they're not here, they have access to that every single day. And then I know even for our students who have IEPs, meaning that, they qualify for special ed services, we do offer after school tutoring where they can get the academic support any day of the week.
Yeah, that kind of extra support seems to be specific to each middle school, but they all have some kind of program. And then Terry, are you here?
I know
anyone?
Terry couldn't make it, but he said he might send a.
Is anybody here from Boys and Girls Club?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, I was hoping they could address, he works with our most vulnerable kids, and they also were doing tutoring. I don't know the extent of how many kids they're allowed in person, and if it was only essential workers. I'm not sure what the program is now. I'll try to send you an email update from him or ask him for one. My concerns for that group continue to be the double, tripled up families that don't have access potentially to rental assistance, who are having to add more rent payers. Anecdotally here, this is I've had, one family where the mom told the 15-year-old she just has to work more, and if she misses school, that's okay because they can't pay their rent. So while there's rental assistant programs, I'm not sure how they're reaching our undocumented population. And I do know that the funding that goes to FAM is really important for that population. Again, so, you know, I really hope that the Human Services Committee can advocate for those really vulnerable families that we have. It seems to be the food needs are getting met. Would anyone on this group think that people are not accessing food right now? Because I think that's pretty well covered.
Well, I just wanted to mention that we're seeing more and more families from Las Palmas coming over to our food connection than ever before. So I agree with Susan that FAM, you know, they've been bringing over food for us to serve the families that are doubling up in their households. So they definitely are missing out with the nutrition and the food.
Right. And, you know, just keeping in mind that FAM also does things like transportation assistance. And these are things when families are really struggling, they have to give up on, and even medication assistance. So just know that. And then I think we also have to keep in mind, how are people getting to vaccination sites that don't have transportation when we haven't really brought any pop-ups down here? Are these things that we should be fighting for with our county supervisor? Is there anyone on the panel who has anything else that I kind of missed? Please feel free to just speak up.
I had a question on just, you do have services, you have tutoring, you have, you know, after school. Do they have to sign up, and do they have to wait a long time, or are you able to get them what they need when they need it? Or is there like a backlog?
Erica?
Is there a backlog of services because you don't have enough people to give them to the people that need the services?
Yeah, so this is Erica Fairweather from San Clemente High. I don't mind answering that for at least my school anyway. I actually, before this call, went out in front of the library just to check it out, and there is about 8 to 10 teachers every day. They're able to do tutoring along with peer tutors, you know, like high achieving juniors and seniors, and there was only 5 kids there getting tutoring services. So no, you don't have to, at our school anyway, definitely not enough people are taking advantage of that.
Right, and that's a drop-in. You don't have to sign up. That is open every day after school. If there's any other way to publicize that a little bit, that would be great. And I believe that any kid who wants can use the middle school services as well. And again, there's always academic support at Boys and Girls Club. But I just kind of want to make sure that all of us go on record, and I think all of us here would agree that the social service grants and just being able to say the city of San Clemente supports our nonprofits that provide so much for this community and are working so hard, really, as Terry stated, gives us leverage with other funders to say that, you know, our own city is supporting us. And, you know, a little goes a long way for all these organizations. So we really appreciate that you advocate for all of us. Anybody else on the panel? Anything else you want to say for the kids and the families?
I just want to say thank you to the Human Affairs Committee for, you know, reaching out and connecting with us through this year. We were able to pull off a lot of things with these kids, and it made them feel good that you invited the COA Club to come and speak to you. So thank you for being somebody who pays attention to their needs and what's going on in their lives.
Deputy Rogers, do you have anything else? All right, she might have had to go. Yep,
I
there you
just
are.
want to say, I mean, it takes a team. You guys know it takes a village for our kids. So I just appreciate you guys. You're always there for me when I need you, and please continue to be there for me because I am no mental health expert. I'm just a deputy sheriff, and I really, really rely on you guys. So thank you.
All right, thank you, school counselors, for your time today as well. And I will turn it back over to Human Affairs.
Thank you, guys. Oh my gosh, wow. Turned out very, very well. I really appreciate your time, and we learned a lot, and I'm sure we'll have some more questions, and we'll be back in touch with you. Thank you. Tyler notified me that we didn't vote on the minutes. We eyed the minutes that we didn't vote. So can I have a vote to approve the minutes from December 8th? All in favor say approve. Oh. All right. Okay. So I guess people can listen in if they want to, if they have the time to listen in. The next thing on the agenda is the grant, well, the process. I don't know whether Cecilia or Janet want to say anything about that. And Eric is also here, right?
Hi, Paula. Members of the committee, Cecilia Gallardo Daly, Community Development Director. As you go into this process of reviewing social service grants, our interim city manager, Eric Sun, wanted to just provide some information and remarks to the committee. I know there was some confusion last time about the outcome of the committee's recommendations and an understanding that those recommendations automatically go into the budget and get voted on by the city council. So Eric's just here to address that issue with the committee moving into the preparation of next fiscal year's budget. So I'm going to turn it over to the interim city manager at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. Good afternoon, Human Affairs Committee board members and chair and co-chair. I'll back up a little bit and provide a little bit of history to last year's budget cycle, because I know that there was some concern with the social services grants being eliminated as part of that proposed budget that went before the council. And so I kind of want to talk about that history that'll lead us into this next budget cycle. And so, you know, the Human Affairs Committee did what they do every year, is screen the social services grants, and that subcommittee reviewed them and provided recommendations that went forward as part of the budget process. When the pandemic hit in March of 2020, that was right at the beginning of our budget preparation cycle. And one of the things at that time that we did not have answers to is what the fiscal impact would mean to the city of San Clemente as it relates to the general fund budget, whether it was sales tax, transient occupancy tax, or other revenues that we were going to see diminish because of the pandemic. And so we kind of went into a little bit of a protective mode with our budget to adequately secure general fund monies for core city services. And part of that protection, we looked at other general fund obligations, and please don't take this as a negative. While it's a great cause and what they do for the nonprofits, we commend. We wanted to make sure that we could preserve city services, whether it's public safety, fire, public works, and maintenance. And so we took the approach that we would be cautious in any additional general fund expenditures, and we removed those grants from the proposed budget. Now, you're going through this cycle again. It's obviously on your agenda tonight, and your subcommittee will convene later today. I'm reporting to the council on a monthly basis how the finances look. It's still too early to come back with a sound position. We are seeing reductions in revenue because we're doing less classes. Sales tax is doing well, better than expected. Transient occupancy tax is not doing well. However, we are a seasonal community as it relates to transient occupancy tax. And so when we get into the spring and summer months, that will be a better temperature check for me in terms of how our TOT revenues are doing. So the short of it is, I don't know what the next budget cycle will look like, and I don't want to provide any false expectations. We are in the beginning stages of looking at our public safety contract, and we are getting estimates for that from the Sheriff's Department, which I think we've been consistent with. Our public safety contracts are our largest expenditure as it relates to general fund dollars, both the fire and the police department. It's too early, but we are going to be seeing probably a significant impact or an increase to our public safety contract as that process plays out, which will obviously factor into our position financially of how we look. And so I can't give you any promises. I will keep you, the committee, updated as we approach the budget process. I think that will be beneficial, not only for your committee, but for almost all the committees to understand where the city is in a fiscal position for the next budget cycle. And I think having that information will be advantageous, because then you as the committee members will know what we can do and what we can't do as it relates to the dollars, general fund dollars. I'll push pause for a second and ask if there's any questions from the committee members. I welcome anything, so please.
Well, I'm wondering, it's only 54,000, or at least last year. Is there a way that we can make it so public to the city that we can form a nonprofit of nonprofits? And there was a team of people that communicate to the city that we're missing $54,000 and get benefactors in the city to contribute to a general fund that you don't have because of extenuating circumstances, that we could communicate to the city to get them to contribute to the part that you can't contribute to right now. To me, it's not that much money that we can't communicate this.
I don't disagree with you, but I think what you're saying, Chair, is that can we advocate on the nonprofits to seek additional fundraising or donations for their cause? And part of me would say that that is probably the core mission of every nonprofit, to solicit fundraisers and sponsorships. So
Right.
that would be something I would push to the nonprofits with regards to that. I'm not saying, and I want to make it clear, I don't know what the fiscal impact will look like yet. It's too early for me to be able to really tell. When I get to March, I'll have a better position from my sales tax reporting and my other financial reports to understand where we are in a fiscal position. And that will be something that's conveyed to the city council as part of our mid-year budget adjustment process, as well as our long-term financial plan process, which will play out both in March.
Tyler.
Yes, thanks so much, Eric and Cecilia, for being here today and for providing that kind of background explanation for the budgeting process for last year's cycle and this year's cycle, and totally understand. And you know, as far as our business and subcommittee business is concerned, we'll just kind of continue as normal and hope for the best. My question really is just about last year's budget cycle and whether you know, there was an idea that was floated to have last year's approvals for social service grants reconsidered at the mid-year budget cycle review. Is that something that is even a consideration at this point? Is it a possibility at this point? I guess we'd probably have a better idea of this current cycle's budget come the mid-year review. So is that because we were considering maybe making some sort of recommendation to the council to reconsider that, but if it's, you know, if the budget is too grim to consider it, you know, I'd love to hear that as well.
No, that's something that was conveyed by the city council, and it's premature for me to be able to say that if, you know, there will be money or there won't be money. I can tell you that if you're paying attention to the council meetings, there is a bigger discussion being had as it relates to pension reform.
Sure.
And there's some discussion about taking any and all monies to pay down pension unfunded liabilities. So that's something that is becoming very pronounced. The other component to this is that we'll be going into labor negotiations with our MOU bargaining unit, and that expires on July 1. And so, or excuse me, June 30th. So that will be, that's another, I'll say another potential expenditure that has to be considered by the city council as we go through that process. So yeah, I can't answer that, Tyler, because I don't have the numbers to be able to make an educated position, because really the biggest quarter for us is quarter 4 of 2020, which is your October, November, December timeframe. And that's your Christmas time, and as it relates to sales tax and so forth. And so that's the one quarter where we haven't been able to get it, reports in the arrears, but we will be getting probably in March. And then we'll be able to have a better position. But I would be premature in saying that we have money and we don't, because I know there's going to be, and I'm sorry, there's going to be a lot of competing interests with whatever money is available, be it public safety, be it pension reform, be it MOU negotiations. And there are other factors that are playing into that as well. We have our park ranger program, that's a pilot program, and we want to create some permanency, but that requires more money. And so a lot of different things that the council will have to consider.
Totally understand. And thank you so much for you know, totally reasonable response. And I know there's higher priorities of much higher dollar values, especially the unfunded pension liability. And the only thing I'll say, just because we have you here and have an ear with you, is the small amount, as Paula mentioned, the small amount of investment that we make as a city into these nonprofit organizations have such a huge and significant impact on the community and the future success of our children in this community. And so I just wanted to make that point, but I understand all the other considerations. I just wanted to put it on the record.
No, I appreciate that. And please know, committee, that it hasn't fallen on deaf ears. And as part of Cecilia's action brought forward to the city council through the community development block grant, COVID monies, we did allow for a portal for nonprofits to seek some of that money via grant through an application process. And we did that specifically because of the social services grants getting tabled for the current fiscal year. And we felt that would be at least an immediate outlet for those nonprofits to seek some dollars as it's related to COVID. And I know that grant, and I'm sure you're very well aware of that grant, but that's in full swing. And so that was an outlet that we wanted to institute, and it didn't necessarily affect general fund dollars because it was going to be CDBG dollars. So anywhere we can find alternative dollars to help with nonprofits, we're all about it. And obviously, and again, we know it's a priority to these groups that these dollars help as little as they may be it a couple of thousand, et cetera. And so again, it'll be part of our deliberation process as we put together the budget and recommend to the council what will work based on their priorities. And I apologize because I realized after talking to Cecilia, it would have been nice for me to do this when we adopted the budget and had this conversation with the Human Affairs rather than, here we are in February, some X amount of months after the budget. And so I apologize for that. In hindsight, I should have come sooner to convey that information. And that's one of the things I'm going to be doing going forward, is making sure all the committees and the commissions are aware of our fiscal position, because that really drives what we can do and what we can't do.
Yeah, and again, I guess I'm gonna look into this, a way to raise money for all the nonprofits all at the same time, if we can figure out a way to do that so that everybody benefits. And it gets out that you're supporting everyone in the city. So I'm gonna see what I can do about that.
I would just say that please use your work plan as a roadmap for your endeavors, and so you stick within the priorities of the council that's set forward.
I get it. I mean, we can use the nonprofits for the communication. I'm just saying that the nonprofits need to get together for a big event so that they can they all have their own investors. So that's the way I'm thinking we could do it. I mean, I'm talking to a lot of people right now that are already involved, and Terry is, and Tyler is. So, there's a lot of us already involved with nonprofits. We just have to get the word out.
Understood. Any other questions?
Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you're doing, and have a great night, everyone, and be safe.
Thank you. Okay. So what time is it? 4:15. Oh, good. So we all did visit the nonprofits. And last year we went and had little mini reports of our visits, and I'll go last because Brenda gave me hers and it's on my computer, which I have to find. So why don't you guys go down the list? The first one.
Could I go first, since wellness and prevention is mine and you already heard what they do? But for a high school to have a opportunity for mental health assistance right on the campus. I'm a high school teacher for 38 years. I cannot believe still how San Clemente High School has that. And their February 4, 2020, their grant was just $4,000. That's all it was. And they hire people, and they have these interns. These kids, they get services that their family cannot afford anywhere else. My second one was FAM. And FAM, they're into 30,000 people served. And I was going to ask Officer Rogers, I mean, if these people if they're not fed, I don't know what the city would do to replace it. So I think everyone is pretty aware of what they've been doing, and even wellness and prevention. FAM even supplies food for them, and Terry Steele said COA the same thing. So
Yep.
Need it.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I think that Pam got some of those CBDG dollars that came in. So,
They got,
right?
2020, they got 22,000 and
Right,
then requested 30.
right. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So there was some money that came in, but it wasn't from. And also, oh, Toby, you had grad night, but there wasn't a grad night. So,
No, and the grad night, I talked to the grad night lady, wonderful person. Basically, the entire amount of money goes for this special T-shirt that they design for the students. And they usually get approximately 2,000. I figured if the T-shirt, it is custom made. If it costs 20, there's 200 students, that's $4,000. They're basically only asking for half that amount.
mhm. So they didn't have a grad night. Did they get T-shirts anyway? They didn't get anything, right?
I don't think they did. No, they couldn't meet. So I'm telling you, their seniors think the world has ripped them off. This is the group I used to work with. I would tell them, you start in kindergarten. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to walk across that stage. It's over. You're off to college or whatever. No more. That's a tough void to fill.
Working on that. Okay, Tyler, you went to Boys and Girls Club and I-5, right?
Yeah, I'll start with the Boys and Girls Club. You know, they really, as soon as COVID struck, kind of hit the ground running, supporting their community as much as possible with food and other services, and weren't open for a large portion of that, but were able to open at some point, kind of midway into last year, and their actual student kind of membership or the attendance has been lower than it has been in previous years. But of course, running the organization and being able to support their community has been a need. So, you know, the funding that they had previously received from the social service grants was for the Brain Gain program, which they've continued as part of all of their normal programming. And what they said is, you know, we may have lower attendance this year, but our need is still there, and we always have need as a nonprofit organization. So it wasn't super clear that there was a specific, you know, and direct need of that funding from last year, but they said that we always need funding, and that was, you know, compelling, and of course they do. That's such a huge part of our community. And then I-5 Freedom Network was planning to put together a program which would really serve to support mental health in I think high school students, kind of like a self-confidence training program to prevent from human trafficking or vulnerability to human trafficking. And they had applied for the social service grant in order to put on that program. But since it wasn't funded, they just didn't put the program on. So there was a specific and direct loss in ability to offer services by not receiving that grant. And so that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Jim, you went to Because I Love You, Parent to Parent.
Parent to parent. Once again, like all these groups, they're filling a void where people are just overwhelmed. I mean, if you're not overwhelmed, you're not really usually turning for help. And so in all these cases, they're facing life challenges at all ages that's just very hard for them to overcome. And that's where you need a little bit of help, you know, and it's another one. It's a counseling program. They had a couple of success stories that were as a result of Zoom. One of them was the mom was in China and the dad and the daughter were here, and they were able to help get things moved along the path, you know, life path, make things better from a distance. With, you know, being able, this is one case where Zoom worked well. Same thing. It's a counseling program, except it's usually the teen isn't necessarily taking advantage of what's at the high school or what's available in their world. It's where the parents are at wit's end because of their child. And once again, it's another one where the child, we used to think stopped at 18, but now they're finding that with people not being fully employed, college isn't going their way, life isn't going their way, they're returning home and they're having difficulties with their adult child that's residing in their home. And so, and it does, they're working through all these things. And we're talking people with generally having a great, well-educated, doing their best. In one case, there's 3 in the home, single parent with 3 daughters at home. And as you can see, a lot of times, instead of making the best choices, they do just what we just heard about, the beer run, not, I don't know what you call it. It's I guess it is criminal, but let's put it this way, not the best choice they could make, right? And sometimes, just like I-5 Freedom and a lot of the other ones, you got a path in life, and sometimes people head down the wrong path, right? They go down, they make a left turn, and hopefully it's temporary. But anyway, it's helping those people that are it's a self-help group. Normally they meet in person, right? Normally, kind of like AA and all that. Only in this case, it's not that. It's they're having difficulties with their teen, or generally speaking, or now older. And they meet and they discuss and they get skills and they practice them. And they come back the next week and keep going. Just like, kind of, I know it sounds like an old saw, but, sometimes people are just in that position. And, of course, just like everybody feels these folks that we, visit, see, participate with, it benefits our community in the long run in intangible ways that you can't necessarily see, but makes the community have a very strong sense of community, as you've heard, that people are being supported when they're down. They're not being kicked, they're being supported when they're down. So, of course, I think parent Billy would benefit from our community support. But once again, I'm, fiscally competent and understand why it has to be done in a different way. So.
Thank you. I have Bill went to Pregnancy Resource Center. Bill's on mute. Still on mute. Well, let me get back. Oh, no, he's still on mute. All right. Well, I went to AgeWell, which is the senior center. They do case management. And of course, they can't do case management for seniors anymore because of COVID. So that's pretty sad that they can't make any home visits right now but they have to do a lot of phone calls. And of course, we have technology challenges. So that's been a big problem. They did get funding though through the CBDG. I think they did get funding. We've also got to deal with, adult protective services and legal aid because there's abuse and fraud there. So there's a lot of reason to keep funding the AgeWell organization. I also went to Assistance League of Capo Valley, which is Bargain Box downtown. That's how they make money. They are open again Wednesday through Saturday. They normally do Operation School Bell, which provides kids with clothing to go back to school, which some are going back to school, some are not, but they all do need shoes, whether they're in school or not. So this year, instead of going to Target and having a big, huge thing at Target, I think they got them virtually, they got uniforms for everyone, for the schools that have uniforms. So they were able to at least get clothing to the kids who needed clothing to go back to school. So that was really a good thing. I also talked to Laundry Love, which is St. Clement's and I think the Lutheran Church. and they weren't able to do any fundraising this year, which they usually do for their Laundry Love. What that is one Wednesday every month, a South in El Camino Real laundromat opens up and provides quarters to people to come in to do their laundry that would not necessarily be able to do their laundry or their bed linens. Some homeless people, a lot of Marines. The Marines, I was amazed. The Marine housing does not have washing machines and dryers in the homes. So when they give them a home to live in or they rent a home, they don't have a washer and a dryer. So they either have to buy the washer and dryer themselves with their own money, or they have to go to a laundromat, which I think there's one on the entire base, and it's way down south. So they come up here and they get quarters to do their laundry. The problem with this now is that they used to bring their children with them, but now because of COVID, they can't do that. And because the kids just can't keep running around. They did have someone that they hired to play with the kids while the parents did the laundry. That whole thing fell apart. So I was trying to get them some additional funding because they'd like to open up another site in North El Camino Real at the northern end of town for other people that need this kind of service. So, you know, you think something small like laundry isn't all that important, but it really, really is for a lot of people to feel clean and refreshed. It does a lot. And the last thing I went to was San Clemente Village, which is the organization that for our seniors to join from age 65 and on, I believe. And they used to charge a fee. Now you can join for nothing, but you become a network and people can then deliver your groceries to you, take you to doctor's appointments, walk your dog, make sure you have PPE. They visit do front porch visits. They do, you know, car picnics and lunch, you know, 6 foot across from lunch. They do a lot because these people are all seniors. They're just home by themselves. And the one thing the seniors need more than anything is contact. And that's what they would look forward to, is something where there would be food and people. And now they don't have that. So San Clemente Village is trying as much as they can to help people at least network and get out there, even if it's a one-on-one, maybe help them get their hair done. Although for a while, nothing was open. Can't get your nails done, can't get your hair done. So they lost some money too. But hopefully we'll get all of these services back next year and make it, you know, communicate that we're all in this together and we need to help each other. And as far as Brenda, where did I put Brenda's? Brenda said, where is it? Oh, she said that she went to see Terry Steele. Terry Steele, yeah. She went to see Terry, which is at COA. And she said she asked Terry 3 questions. How did the loss of funds impact the mission? They had to furlough staff, all staff. Hopefully the SE grant was not responsible for all staff funding, but the aggregated results were significant. And lost facility access to meet in person, forcing them to pay for storage equipment, further limiting funding for programs. As a result of COVID, are your programs still functioning? Yes, and the need is even greater. Working with teens and transitional aged youth, she found that the forced isolation was having profound impact on their mental health. We're collaborating with I-5, which is Brenda, offering their confidence and leadership development course, Way to Be. So they're going to try to, you know, partner with each other to for leadership, because kids like leadership. It gives them a reason to move forward. Just to run something, to organize something is so important. So that's all the reports for all the social services that we went to. And I see that there are 2 new ones this year that we don't know that much about. One of them is voice. Actually, I think Tyler knows a lot about, or somewhat about, the First Amendment voice. And I know something about Find Your Anchor. And they've also are on the list for this year to get some funds. But do you want to just say a little bit, Tyler, about First Amendment? Is it First Amendment voice, right?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. So First Amendment Voice is an organization founded by a gentleman by the name of Steve Miska, who is former, man, I'm going to get this wrong, but he used to work in the White House as the director for Iraq and the National Security Council. And so he's very plugged in for national security. That's his career, coming from the Army. But he decided to form this organization, which is all about promoting positive civic discourse. And so he has, if anybody's heard of programs in the community called Difficult Conversations, trying to promote positive public discourse among people. He does other programming about bias in the media, being able to recognize where there is bias in the media, where it's neutral, where it might sway one side or the other, to be able to make an informed decision, as well as programming related to detoxing from digital media, particularly in this day and age when we all have Zoom fatigue and are somewhat addicted to our media devices. And I think First Amendment Voice has actually done some work with not only the city, they did a Toll Road Town Hall meeting, Toll Road Town Hall, as well as some programming with the Chamber of Commerce. So we're very integrated in the community, and I'm happy to be a volunteer for them.
Okay, and they added Find Your Anchor. This is a Find Your Anchor box. I ordered one for a friend I was concerned about. She's still around. She did go through it all, and she gave me, kept a few things and gave me the box. So it's just a bunch of pamphlets in here, some cards, just like they said. And there's some handwritten things in here for people to anchor. So they've also asked for some funding, and there's suicide prevention, basically. I don't know how the boxes get to people. You have to know that Find Your Anchor is available. And you put this box, mail it to them, give it to them, leave it on their doorstep. You don't have to say anything. And it just lets them know that somebody's thinking about them. So they also applied for some funding from us this year. So
They spoke to us, right? They spoke to us. What does anybody recall what month they spoke? They spoke to the group.
Yeah.
Was it last spring or so?
Yeah, and I called them and said I need a box. They sent my friend a box. And
They
said,
spoke at Wellness and Prevention.
huh?
Oh, is that what they spoke?
They spoke
Okay.
at Wellness and Prevention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was during suicide prevention. Okay, so that is the end of that part of our agenda, and there's really a few more things I wanted to talk to you about.
Can you hear? Can you hear? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead, Bill.
Is it too late to get applications in for this year?
Yes. Yes.
For this
it
year.
is. The deadline was the end of January, that Monday.
End of January.
Cecilia? I think the deadline's over.
January 25th or so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, the deadline has passed. In fact, the committee is going to, or subcommittee of human affairs is going to be reviewing the applications that have been submitted today at 5 o'clock.
So Bill, you're still there. Can you tell us about Pregnancy Resource since you weren't able to give your report?
Pregnancy Resource Center didn't get any funding this last year, and somehow they missed the deadline, obviously for this year. But I did speak with Jane Wall, their executive director, this week, to encourage them to apply for this year's grant, and I guess I was too late to do that. But they were trying to get some funding for starting a new testing routine that'd be available to people in town for something that I learned to be STDs. Everybody, I learned what an STD was. I didn't know it before, but
used to be a VD.
Yeah, now I figured that one out. But that's what happens when you're married 55 years, like I am. Anyway, I've been encouraging to them, and so we're hoping to get some funding to them through the Rotary Club. And Tyler's going to be taking over as president there next year, next June.
Oh, wow.
So that's going to be really good. And but this year the Rotary Club went out with a special benefit and just did a great job raising some funds. So we have more money now than we thought we would. So I'm going to try to get some of that to be applied, Tyler, to the Pregnancy Resource Center. Those people are really desperate, and just a small amount of money, like $3,000, makes a big difference to them. So I'm still hanging in there with them and encouraging them, but it sounds like I'm a little bit late this year.
Yeah, yeah. I think I did, anybody who got funding last year, I sent an email to, and I didn't get any of them returned. So whoever wrote the grant last year that got the money, I did send them an email. So that was probably the only communication they got, but they did get that.
You mean the ones who did not get funding, right?
I sent an email to every single person who got a grant last year. Well, didn't get a grant, who applied for a grant last year. So I had the
Yeah.
book. And I sent an
Yeah.
email.
Well, they didn't get it. They applied for it, but they didn't get it. Yeah.
Okay.
Only for $3,000 too, so it wasn't a big amount.
Okay. The next thing is the resource guide, which we need to another 2 months to get that thing done. I think our group will meet again in April, and then we'll meet again, I believe, at the end of June, and then our committee will be changed to 5. And 5 new people, 5 different people, 5 people. So we really we should get this done in 2 months, so we get the whole thing ready so that we can get it done, so we can say this committee got the resource guide updated. So that's
I've already done mine, Paul.
I know you've done yours, and so has Brenda, but I haven't even done mine.
Okay.
I'm guilty.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Paul. I haven't done mine either. But
What are you smiling? Burton is smiling.
Well,
what
yes.
I'm doing is calling through the pages that you assigned and then revising to just update the information and sending back to you, right?
Yes,
Got it.
it takes a while.
I'll do it. Thank you.
Okay.
And the 2 more things, the high school student award, we finally got in touch with them. So we're on, and it's me and Toby. We can get a 3rd person if you want to volunteer. Again, this committee can no longer meet after June in 3s. So if anybody wants to be involved, I don't know how they're going to do it, but Toby and I wrote a new questionnaire. We took last year's and we added a few things about COVID. We're going to give it to the guidance counselor. We'll let them organize it the way they want to organize it, but I'm not really looking for an award. I'm looking for people that need help, people that need help for writing the letters of recommendation, just some sort of mentoring. These kids didn't get any, I mean, we missed an entire class of kids.
Yes.
And, you know, I kept trying to go back in there and see what happened to did the seniors that we were juniors, did the seniors get to college, and did the juniors, what happened to those juniors? Because now they're seniors. So I'm hoping that the school opens it up to whoever wants mentoring. If there's anything that we can do, I'd like another volunteer from you guys to be with me and Toby to go to this, to have some Zoom calls with these kids. Maybe we can even divide and conquer, and it could be 4 or 5 of us. I don't know, but I'm going to talk to the school, have them give us a list of kids that just would like to tell us what they've done. I feel really good about that.
The number will probably be small enough. We could still do it in person.
And yeah, so we could do it in person.
We can be easily
So
wear a mask.
yeah.
I think that would be better than Zoom. They're
Okay.
tired of Zoom.
Whatever works. But I think Toby and I will have a meeting with Stephanie, ask her what we can do. I don't want to manage it. I want it to be what they need us to do. So we'll find out what they want us to do, what works, what the needs are. And then we'll just, you know, I mean, I know it worked last year. I know our letters of recommendation got kids into college. I don't even know if they were even able to go. I don't know whether Esther was even able to go to Columbia because it was during COVID. So I don't know what.
I'll volunteer. You know, you guys just keep me in the loop. I've done letters of recommendation and all that kind of stuff before. So yeah, count me in.
Thank you.
Okay, Jim. Don't talk so loud, Jim.
Can you hear me? Is it loud or is it?
I've turned my speakers down to 3%. You're a major voice.
Okay.
My dog left the room, as a matter of fact.
All right, one more thing, and that's, well, pretty much that's it. The homeless, joint homeless subcommittee with Bill and Tyler.
Yeah, I can report on that real quick. We had a follow-up meeting, so the work plan for the joint homeless subcommittee went to the council, and they kind of sent it back to us to revise. I think there was some direction on kind of narrowing the focus particularly with the decision of the council to transition from using CityNet as the homeless outreach service for the city, and instead hiring an in-house staff member for that. And I think that's in the process right now of formulating or posting and ultimately interviewing and hiring a staff member who would be in charge of homeless outreach. And so the direction that we've taken with the subcommittee is to try to support the efforts of that staff member by compiling sort of a similar resource, but specific to homeless services for that individual once they come on. And it'd be more, individual contacts that they can reach out to that would help them to hit the ground running once they do. And also, I think a major focus was to try to form somewhat of a coalition group, like a stakeholders group that that person could meet with on somewhat of a regular basis to kind of coordinate the efforts and not to get the efforts of all homeless outreach services that are being conducted in San Clemente. So we've got a more solid and work plan, and it'll be reviewed by the council at next Tuesday's meeting. And then we have another homeless subcommittee meeting on January 18th at 10 a.m. So anybody watching that's interested can tune in on
February 18th.
I'm sorry, February 18th at 10 a.m. So it'll be next Thursday, 10 a.m.
Okay, cool, thank you. I can hear myself through Jim. I don't know what about the education topic for April. We don't have to decide right now. I mean, there was one thing that we did talk to James about. Jim and I went to talk to him, and then we went and talked to Tyler about it. But it's very direct, very small. But it was financial literacy. It had to do with adolescents and adults understanding how to manage their money. But the goal was to get people to actually go to school here and stay here and get a house here, and how they can manage their money so they actually could save enough money to buy a house here. So that was the end goal of financial literacy. But I don't know whether that's too small of a topic. So, but I'm throwing that out there of just something that, and again, we've gone through our cycle of all of the topics that we wanted to cover this year. And the last one would have been homelessness, but I don't know whether we want to do homelessness since it's just pervasive and we talk about it quite a bit. So I think it's still up in the air what we're going to talk about at our next meeting in April. We don't have to figure that out right now.
Okay.
It could be opportune, actually. I think that's kind of a good segue into that discussion about the topic for next meeting. And I wonder, Cecilia, do you happen to know if you have posted the job for that staff member, the homeless outreach coordinator, or if it's been, I don't know if it's kind of early. I think it's probably too early on to know if it's been posted, but
yeah, thank you. Great question. And I know we had talked about it. Oh, no, we didn't talk about it. I think we talked about it with the joint homeless subcommittee. I gave a brief update on where we were at in the process. I can do that the same for the Human Affairs Committee. We worked on a job description for the position. The final step before we post the job is to add the new position into the budget. It's not currently a position listed in our salary schedule. So my understanding is that that is supposed to be on the city council meeting agenda for this coming Tuesday, to add that position as a line item in the salary schedule. And then we will be posting the position and opening it up to candidates.
Awesome. Thank you. So on that note, maybe it's not opportune from a timing perspective to have that as our topic for next meeting, maybe a future meeting. And it is one of the things that we talked about in our last subcommittee meeting was there is a bit of overlap, now with our committee and the subcommittee in terms of what our efforts are focused on. And obviously that being the homeless subcommittee, that the effort is solely on homelessness. And so having that as a focus of the Human Affairs Committee, even though the the subcommittee is a subcommittee of the Human Affairs Committee. If we're duplicating our own efforts, then there's some confusion there. So maybe we'll talk offline after the meeting to determine what the best topic would be for the meeting, whether it's on the list or not.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have 4:47, so we'll get like a 10-minute break until me and Tyler have to go on to the next meeting. I'm sure Cecilia is involved in that too, and Janet. So I think they wanted everyone to know the city offices are closed on this coming Monday, President's Day. And our next meeting is April 13th. So I'd like to get a motion to close the meeting.
So moved. Closing the meeting till April 13th, 2021.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, guys. We'll talk again.
Thank you.
See you later.
Catch you later.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for coming.
All right. See y'all later.